Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. This is our TNA show for the week. My name is George Coles and let's jump right into the fire. First thing we have a AJ Styles and Bully Ray promo to start the show. Thought it was pretty decent and I thought Bully had some good points, AJ had some good points. Good way to hype up the Bound for Glory coming up very soon in their matches. And, you know, what's going on with AJ is he going to sign? Is he staying? Is he going? It's a nice little storyline, kind of reminiscent of CM Punk in 2011. Other people have done it, but that's the most recent and the most popular in recent memory. Good way to start the show off, which went right into a match. We had Kenny King and Chris Sabin versus Jeff Hardy and Manic. Nice way to get these guys involved. Four of the guys, three of them mainstays of the X Division, and it looks like Jeff Hardy is going to come and be part of the X Division now. After the match, we had Sabin trying to attack people from behind, which brought Aries from the commentary table to come in and make a challenge for a four-way, him versus Hardy versus King versus Sabin in an Ultimate X match, which I believe will be part of Bound for Glory as well. Jeff Hardy says he wants to do something he's never done before. So I think it could be interesting. What can Jeff Hardy come up with in this match? A match we, like he said, we haven't seen him in. What innovations can he bring to the table? Or is it just going to be the same spots, the Whisper in the Wind, the Swanton Bomb? Can he bring some new stuff out of his repertoire? Who knows? Maybe. It's going to be an interesting match either way. The next was a really interesting match. We had Magnus, who wanted to run a gauntlet match against Ego. Comes out against Daniels first. Daniels takes the loss. Then Kazarian comes out. Kazarian loses after he clips the knee of Magnus, setting up for when Bobby Roode comes in. Bobby Roode gets the win by submission. Magnus is visually frustrated and upset, which brings Sting out to the ring to try and console him and calm him down. They get into a kind of a heated discussion, not so much an argument, where Sting, or the gist of it is Ric Flair helped to make Sting, as Magnus said. Who's going to help make Magnus? And Sting yells at him, "I will." So we're going to see Sting versus Magnus at Bound for Glory. I don't know if this means the main event Mafia is going to split up. Maybe Magnus is going to turn heel with all the frustration. That seems to be a route that's normally taken when a character goes in this direction. I'd like to see Sting do the clean job to him and kind of pass the torch a little bit, help give the younger wrestler a rub. I think Magnus has a ton of potential and could be in Sting's position when we revisit this 10 years from now. Which brought out to our next. Don't want to say it was a match because they came to the ring, but it ended. We had Brooke Tessmacher versus Velvet Sky. I believe they said it was going to be the #1 contender for the Knockout division. Before anybody could wrestle, Lady Tapa made her entrance and destroyed both of them. Pretty solid. He's got a solid look, noticeably larger than the other females in the Knockouts division, which I think helps a lot when you're a quote-unquote monster character. And speaking of Lady Tapa, our question of the week from last week was they ran 2 vignettes, one for Tapa, one for Ethan. Who were you most excited to see? Now, before I get into my opinion, we're going to get to some from our friends here. The first is from our friend James King. Can't wait for Lady Tapa, a much-needed fresh face to the Knockout division. Next is from our friend Metal Ruler 45. Was more of a fan of Ivelisse Valles, who Tapa lost to in the gut check match, but the KOs need women, period, so hopefully Tapa can be a legit monster, which TNA hasn't had for years. Then he goes on to say, this Ethan HD guy, if that is him, isn't impressive at all. It's very generic. slow and nothing more than a comedy driver, which TNA has enough of, I don't think fans will like this choice if it's him indeed. Good points there. Last week when they only showed the picture, the rumor was it was going to be Ethan HD, who's a California-based independent wrestler. However, the rumor now, and from the vignette that they showed this week, seems to be former WWE developmental talent Derek Bateman. But I am in agreement with our friends here. I think Lady Tapa, I'm more excited to see her. Same reasons they say. The Knockouts division has lost over the last year, or even maybe 2 years, they've lost ladies like Mickie James, Tara. I mean, list goes on. The beautiful people, except for Velvet, of course. I mean, the Tara Terrell getting pregnant. You have a division that used to be one of the highlights of the company now is running on fumes, and any life that they can breathe into it, I think, is positive. Now, coming off of that, and speaking of interest, our question of the week for this week is, what is your interest in the Bound for Glory pay-per-view? Are you going to buy it? Are you going to watch it? Do you even care? Let us know what you think. Hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter. Put it down where? Down in the comments. Now, coming off of that, we have a match that AJ Styles told us about at the beginning of the show that Hulk Hogan made, Samoa Joe versus Bully Ray. Pretty decent match. Joe picks up the win when Bully noticeably uses a chain on him in front of Earl Hebner, gets himself disqualified. Bully's attacking Joe, which brings AJ through the crowd to make the save. More building toward the AJ and Bully Ray match. Not bad though, not a bad setup. Same basic formula that wrestling's used for years and years and years, and they use it because it works. And again, it worked here. Now after that, we had the thing that everybody was sitting on pins and needles waiting for, crossing their fingers, crossing their legs. Hulk Hogan's decision whether he's going to get on the Dixie train or if he was going to go the hard way. Dixie talks to Hogan, gave him a watch earlier in the night. Hogan tells her, no, I quit. Dixie seems to beg. When Hogan obviously isn't going with her begging, she says, fine, you're fired. So again, we get Dixie Carter doing her best I'm a heel owner, promoter, gimmick. It is what it is. I believe Hulk Hogan's contract is up with TNA, and this was a way that they could write him off either way. If they decide to sign him back, he could come back as a surprise. If they decide that his money be best used elsewhere, bringing in some good younger talent, I would personally prefer that. Maybe, you let Hulk Hogan ride off into the sunset, let him get the Legends contract with WWE, show up at their Raw specialty shows. Everybody's happy. We get to see Hulk Hogan, if used sparingly, would be a positive. Hulk Hogan as a focal point of the show is 20 to 30 years too late now. Or at least 20 to 25 years too late. I haven't bought Hulk Hogan as a focal point of the show since the early 90s. Even his run in the NWO, the only reason he seemed more important was because of Hall and Nash. So, him going away, whether it's for a little bit or a long while or forever, I think can only help TNA. And this may be the last time we do this, folks. Our running Hulk Hogan count for the week, we're at 4 Hulk Hogan Thunderlips for this week. Kind of fitting that it's 4 with all the feuds he's had with Ric Flair and the 4 Horsemen over the years. On his way out, he goes out with a number that's most represented by Flair. Weird how that works out sometimes. But speaking of numbers, let's go into our ratings. If you watched our show in the past, we have a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. and a 1 is a Jesse Goddard, 2 is a Garrett Bischoff, 3 is a James Storm, 4 is a Christopher Daniels, 5 is a Bobby Roode. I'm going to give this show a 2, a Garrett Bischoff. The lack of in-ring matches combined with the overkill of the Hulk Hogan storyline, although I do know why they did it, kind of hurt to me. I mean, King and Saban versus Hardy and Manic was decent, not great. Magnus running the gauntlet was predictable. Working Velvet never happened. Samoa Joe versus Bully Ray, I think it could have been much better, especially with the talents of the 2 guys in there. The bright spots of the night are Lady Tapa coming out and Hulk Hogan potentially being gone. Again, I don't see nothing but good coming from Hulk Hogan leaving. Just my opinion. But basically, that's all I have to say about that. We give the show a 2, a Garrett Bischoff. And my name is George Coles. This has been another episode of Heel Heat.